Lawrence Schiffman is a professor of Judaic Studies and vice provost for undergraduate education at Yeshiva University. He was formerly the chair of New York University's Skirball Department of Hebrew and Judaic Studies and is the Ethel and Irvin A. Edelman Professor Emeritus in Hebrew and Judaic Studies at NYU. He's a specialist in the Dead Sea Scrolls, Jewish law, and Talmudic literature. Good to see you.
Thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Let's talk about civilization for a minute. The significance of going from many gods to one God. What is that?
Look, I think there's sort of no question that if you ask yourself, what is the key thing that creates the beginnings of Judaism, which we often refer to in that period as Israelite religion, it's the move from polytheism to monotheism. The minute people start to recognize that these forces around them, that they correctly recognized as being beyond them, turn out really to be part of a unified world, a unified system. And then they start to say, there's really one God who created that and rules over it. That's the key to having a moral law. And the minute you get that, you get the beginnings of what will become Judaism.
And where does the Talmud come in then?
Well, the Talmud represents sort of a big second stage. We start with the period of the Hebrew Scriptures, what's called the Old Testament.
So the Bible is first?
That's right. The Bible certainly comes first. The Bible sets down all the bases, all these things, whether it's the observances like the Sabbath, or whether it's the ethical laws, love your neighbor as yourself. These are all things that come out of the biblical tradition. Now, the biblical tradition goes through a kind of period in which there's a competition about how to interpret it. And that's what we call the Second Temple period, where you have things like Dead Sea Scrolls, early Christianity, and eventually begin what we could call the Talmudic process, where there's a legal code with different points of view, where there are going to be debates about how to understand that point of view, and when, for all intents and purposes, a kind of unending, eternal debate becomes one of the hallmarks of what we call Judaism.
And what exactly is the Talmud?
Well, the Talmud is really technically a commentary coming from a very large group of rabbis from about the period of 200 to 500, which is intending to explain and expand on the Mishnah, which was edited in 200 and is a kind of a law code. But these are not like law codes the way we understand them. They don't just tell you what the law is. They tell you different opinions of different rabbis from different times, and the debate never ends. That's the key point, which I think you need to understand to see how the oral word initially and the written word in terms of the Bible together construct Judaism.
And we hear the Talmud's always up for interpretation. Why is that?
The Talmud is a very complex document with statements by many rabbis which don't necessarily agree in difficult language. Interpreting and studying the Talmud is basically an age-old Jewish activity. What happens in it is that people are constantly suggesting interpretations and often suggesting new interpretations that then pave the way for further discussion. So Talmud can be seen as a process, not just a book.
Well, this is one of the basic themes for Simon Schama. It's about the Word. Why the importance on the Word?
The written Word in the form of the Bible, followed by what starts out, we call it the oral law, the oral Torah, the oral word, which is understood to stem from the Sinai revelation. This word, in a certain sense, the text and the text interpretation, is the way in which Judaism develops and survives throughout the ages. And he understood correctly that what ties the Jew to Judaism is that ongoing process of the word. One of the great things about this entire set of programs is that the Judaism he's talking about is really Judaism.
Lawrence Schiffman, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you very much.